everybody. Welcome to Peace and Progression. I want to welcome one of my dearest and best friends, Tasha Lee. She's here with me today. We're going to talk about self-worth and just what that means. Tasha, you want to tell everybody a little bit about yourself?
Of course, I'm just a down-to-earth, normal type of woman, and been married, divorced. I have 2 boys, and I work with those with special needs. I am a provider support assistant, and so I love it. I was like night and day. I used to be in insurance, and now I'm working with those with special needs. So, and then I've been knowing Janice's kids longer than I've been knowing her. Okay, been knowing the kids forever, and of course.
So, what are your thoughts and your ideas when you hear someone say self-worth? What kind of mindset does that give you?
Wow. Well, for me, it's like I'm just honestly understanding it in detail, because I have recently went through a divorce and had to go through some really serious counseling, and did not find out a lot of things. But, you know, that was one of the subjects, self-worth. And I was like, yeah, maybe I didn't know what that means. So it's like, it's 2 words put together, right? Self, me, you, me, and then worth. Are you worthy? Is it worth it? You know what I mean? So it's you kind of break it down into what it is. Self is for me, it's me. But when I think about worth, I think about the same thing. Is it worth it? And are you worth something? You understand what I'm saying? So there's a breakdown of it. And so we have to think about it, keep an open mind, and be optimistic. But with that, we can go on and on, because you have to really, really dig.
Right.
But that's, to me, it's self. You know what I mean?
So yeah, definitely. But like, one of the things I get a lot of when I bring up self-worth or self-love or something like that would be, but isn't that being selfish? So there's a big difference there between and understanding what self-worth is versus what selfishness is. So how did you get, did you ever have that idea that being, knowing your self-worth or loving yourself, that was selfish?
Well, not really, because again, I didn't even know what self-worth. I mean, I guess I never really had been asked some really deep, and I think that's why for me, I have to know what self-worth was. You know what I mean? And so now I'm like, I'm worth more than the things that self has been putting self through.
Right.
Okay? So absolutely. Am I worthy? You have to know that you are worthy. Am I worthy of, or is it worth this or that? Because sometimes we get into these situations because we don't know what our worth is. And so we can break that down. So for me, it was just, I didn't know. Like, I mean, it's like when you're asking that question, it's like, I just didn't know.
Right.
Now, to me, it's like, oh, self-worth.
Makes you step back a little bit.
Oh yeah. And then you can confuse selfishness with it, because once you start knowing your worth, and once you start saying, I deserve this or that, then you start seeing what I'm saying. I can see where it can be confusing. Selfish, if you don't take mess from people. Somebody say their verbal abuse. I'm not taking that. I'm not going to take that.
Right.
Self, do you have to go through that?
Well, and being selfish means that you're only thinking of yourself. So there's 1 piece of pizza left. And I've had 5 and you've had 2. Well, I'm still hungry. And so I take that other piece of pizza without even asking, hey, you know what? I know you've only had 2 pieces of pizza. Would you like to have that last one? That's selfish.
Right.
Now, self-worth is a lot different. It's realizing your mind, and not allowing people to abuse that. So that's one of the biggest things right there. When as you and I, we're both very soft-hearted people. We give. One, that's very hard for some people to handle. They don't know how to handle someone that is wanting to give. But we are the least selfish people.
Mm-hmm.
However, we are also the people that don't see our worth.
Yes.
So
Yes.
we have to evaluate what are we giving along with what are we getting.
Yes.
So if you stop getting what you're giving, you step back. People take that very personally.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas you have to learn, I just said a key word there though, which again is in my book, learn how to do that.
Yes.
Because it's not something that is natural for us to know how to do.
They're
It's
learned
something that is
behaviors.
learned.
So
Correct.
we have to, honestly, in order to learn, we have to unlearn. So we have to.
Yeah, absolutely.
You understand what I'm
yeah.
saying? So you have to say, let me take a little bit back.
It's also acknowledging one thing and then learning how to implement it into
Yes.
your daily life. So, do I know my self-worth? Well, yeah, of course I know my self-worth. But actually being able to implement that into your life is a whole different story. I knew about self-love 2 years ago.
The worth. See, that's where we
Well,
go.
you're right.
That's the
You're
first.
right.
So you
You're
got
right.
it's levels to it.
Absolutely.
And then unless you have self-love, how do you? If you don't self-love, how do you even know your worth?
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Let's
Yeah.
So we had to, and that's where I said I didn't understand. I won't say I didn't know. I just didn't understand it. You understand what I'm saying? And there was some things, and I'm still learning. I wasn't loving self.
Right.
I was finding all these things, and sometimes we women beat ourselves up and feel like you have to be perfect. And all the stuff to different women and friends or whatever. There's so many things that played into that. But until I start loving myself to where I said, I won't take this, I won't take it, whether it's mental abuse, physical abuse, and I've been through a lot. And there's probably going to be more topics that we can talk about. But until you had that self-love, you really can't even go into self-worth.
Right.
You know what I mean? So for me, I feel like now what I tell my, I learned that in counseling. You are worthy of this. That's not worth your time. If somebody, are we worthy to correct that? Am I worthy to have some of your time to say, or we work that out? So that's what I mean when we say self-worth. Is it worth it for yourself? Is it going to cause you to be negative? Is this causing your whole attitude to, you understand what I'm saying?
Right.
Or am I worthy? You understand? So it goes together, even though we can split it up. It's like,
and it's also, you have to evaluate, the whole situation, but the friendship too. What does this take out of me? It, like you said, is it worth it? I don't care if you're in a relationship, if it's a friendship, if it's a work environment. It can't be everything. There has to be, everything has a balance. So if all you care about is that one thing, and everything you do evolves around that one thing, especially for women, our relationships, our personal relationships, right then and there, we are not giving ourselves self-love.
Yes.
Because we are investing every emotion and everything that we have into that person. So we are giving them more than what we're willing to give ourselves.
Let's think about this, go even deeper. We're investing everything into everybody else.
What are you doing to show yourself self-love? For me, I box. For me, that's how I get out my energy. When I'm not boxing, I'm lifting weights. If I'm not lifting weights, then I'm on the treadmill doing something. Being in the gym or working out, sweating, however you want to put it, is how I invest in myself.
Right.
I have goals. I have dreams. And those things require for me to take care of myself.
Yes.
So, but everybody's goals and dreams are different, and everybody's views are different.
Exactly.
So, for me, being a bag has always been something. Ever since I was in middle school, I've done martial arts, kickboxing, something.
Yes.
So that's just how I have learned to release that negative energy.
To bring yourself back to
myself back.
Yes. Yes.
So, for all of us, it's different. So showing my love for someone, or showing that I care, don't take that word love the wrong way.
Yeah.
But that's giving for me. However, gifts are not my love language.
Yes.
So my love language is time.
Yes. Everybody's
Spend
different. Yes.
quality
Time. Yes.
If I'm with someone and all they're doing is constantly taking pictures of themselves or constantly
Talking
on
to
their
everybody
phone,
else, and
talking
you're
to
supposed to have
everyone,
quality.
yeah,
Yes.
then
Yes.
that's not quality time.
Mhm.
You know, it's if I go to work and I only give 10%, that job's not going to last very long.
That's
It's the
truth.
same with every relationship that we have.
Yes.
You know, if we don't invest our time, that relationship will not work.
Yeah.
Now, that does not mean that two people can't have a good relationship, whether it's a friendship or a relationship. It does not mean two very busy people cannot have a good relationship.
Yeah.
I have about 3 people that I am very interactive with every single day.
Right.
I am not going to spend time with people that don't bring me value.
Mm-hmm.
On the flip side, I don't really want to be with people that I don't bring value
But
to.
then, and during that time, this person is not computer savvy, so I was doing things online for as far as COVID and filling out her paperwork for unemployment or whatever, helping her. You know what I mean? And that negative energy that we had before, it's no longer there.
Right.
So sometimes you have to that person that you like, they don't deserve. I mean, the what she did the last time that I felt like it might, like you said, different cultures. She might not thought it was disrespectful. For me, I'm like, did you just throw that? You know, and I knew I had to work with this person, so I changed it around that says, you know what? Maybe if I give this person some of my good energy that I know that I have in me, maybe it'll change the way this person thinks or whatever. And it did. And this,
But again, that all comes from how you value yourself.
yes,
So
yes.
so I joke around about this a lot, but it is definitely a piece of my everyday life.
Mm-hmm.
When I wake up in the morning, I have one goal, and that is to make someone smile.
Right.
That positive energy and things that we put out because of the way we care and because of how we feel about ourselves carries on to other people. And that's how people remember us, is by how we felt about ourselves.
And when we're talking about self, if self feels great, if self-esteem is you are confident, if you are just feeling good and you are being optimistic and you are learning and you're growing and self is progressing, self will show out and show up and be able to pass the positive self. I want people to be, when it comes to me, I want them, because there was some negative things, you know what I mean? And so the positive self, I want her
Right,
to be,
right.
you know what I mean? And I feel like I'm worth it to not be negative or, you know what I mean, or looked at even, and you shouldn't care about, but for me,
Right.
the way I want you to
Right.
look at me and say, you know what, I can count, she's dependable, or no, you know, somebody, if you always want that, what I call it, that positive feedback where somebody may say, you know what, Tasha, she's this, and that, and you say, well, I don't see that. That's
Right.
not how, you understand what I'm saying? Your character.
Character.
You know, to me, it's everything. It helps with jobs. It helps with life. It helps with everything. And I've had moments where I wasn't not so good. So now, when it comes to self, I have to check self first.
Right.
Check self
Right.
first. How are you being?
Right.
How are you conducting yourself? How are you acting? How are you reacting? You know.
But how are you feeling? You know, I'll hear something, I'll see something, and it'll bring back a memory. And when I start having that anxiety or that feeling that now I notice,
Yes.
it's like self-check.
There you go.
Self-check.
Self-check.
It's time.
Self-check.
But you know how that started. I don't know if I ever told you how that started or not. But my dad sent me this book called The Untethered Soul. Now, highly recommend this book. But it starts, the way that it first starts out is how our inner self talks all the time. So, okay, it's the middle of winter, right? And let's say it's a Black Friday. And we're all standing outside, and it's cold as you know what out there. But for some reason, your mind says, dang, it's cold out here. My nose, my hands are really cold right now. You know, I mean, like, yeah.
It's
but
what
why
you
are
want.
you telling yourself
Yes.
that it's cold? You know that it's cold.
Yeah.
You know, so it.
How many things do
we-
we talk to ourselves every day?
constant.
Yeah.
But the thing about it is that that's how our memories work too.
Yes.
So, one of the things that he explained is, let's say that you're in a car, okay, and you and your boyfriend are going somewhere or whatever the case may be, okay, and so then y'all have a bad breakup. But every time you see that type of car, those feelings
It brings
come
you back to yes.
So you have to be able, literally, to say, shut up.
Yes.
You have to be able to say to your head when those words come in, shut up.
Mm-hmm.
I am worth this, and I'm better than that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And whatever did this to me, whatever made me feel like this, is not worth it.
Yes.
And
Yes.
go away.
Yes.
Because those are thoughts that do not matter.
And it's okay for you to talk to yourself, to get yourself to
Absolutely.
a place where you're at peace, to get yourself to the place where you're not out of character, to get your place where you're not being violent, you know, any of those things. You know what I mean? You have to talk to yourself and say, self, now
You have to realign.
You have to, yes, there you go.
Right,
There you
right.
go. Yeah.
What you have to learn is that realigning means talking to yourself.
Yes.
You have to tell that voice, stop.
It's because, like you
Step
said,
back.
you're remembering. That's what got me in this situation. Or
Right.
Or
Right.
yep, nope, you went through this. Because a lot of times, like you said, we remember the feelings. We remember how something made us
Right.
feel.
Right, right.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So we gotta. That's what I said. Self-check,
Mhm.
self-love, all of this stuff is what it goes into your worth, is your esteem.
Well,
Your-
it's funny because I was talking to my dad just the other day, and those people that know me know I'm extremely close to my dad.
Mhm.
And so one of the things that we were talking about, my dad is very religious and spiritual and things like that.
Mhm.
So one of the things we were talking about was about how when people are not willing to open up that side of themselves, to love themselves, to be open-minded,
Mhm.
and it really puts a block on what God can do with you.
It does.
You
That
know?
is the one. What I'm telling you is, before I went to counseling, before I got myself in situations, you know, going through the divorce, I'm telling you, I was not open-minded. I was not optimistic.
Right.
I blocked I told myself I can't do that. I don't, I was just, all talking myself all, and that's what it is.
Yeah,
It becomes, you become your own stumbling block.
Yes, absolutely. Your
Yeah.
thoughts become your own
Yes,
stumbling block
yes.
when you're not willing to open up to the way someone else may feel or think.
Yes.
You definitely have to have your own way of thinking and have your boundaries and your limits,
Mm-hmm.
but you can't not acknowledge someone else's.
Yes. Yes. That's true.
So, I'm not a religious person,
Mm-hmm.
but I am a spiritual person, and there's a big difference.
But when you become spiritual and you become one, and you block everything out, and you become in tune with what you believe in, it becomes different.
Right. But
It's just-
again, that is where you start to see your self-worth,
yes,
your self-love,
yes,
when you're checking yourself,
Mm-hmm. How many
okay.
people don't? You have to check
Right.
because
constantly.
because
Self-check is constant.
self,
Right.
that carnal, that self, honey, it will lead to destruction if you don't check it. So you have.
Well,
to.
but you just hit the nail on the head there. The majority of the time, our destruction, whether it's in our career, relationship, friendship, whatever, is because of ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's because either we're not willing to see where we need to change. It can maybe not be our fault because someone isn't willing to tell us what is bothering them.
Mhm.
Maybe because of our attitude that, they're going to think that we're going to take it as an insult and not be willing to change, so why even talk about it? Because I strongly believe also that if you don't communicate issues, no people can't change that way either. It is your responsibility as my best friend to tell me things that you see that concern you.
Exactly.
Because how I may not even notice it.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
if you really care for someone, if you really want to see the best for them, you can go to them in love and say,
well, that's what I said. Are you worth me? Constructive criticism. I am. Why can't we have a conversation? We're going to agree to disagree. You're going to believe something, or we're two different people. So we have to understand that's the part of worth. Is it worth it, or are you worth it?
But with that, with your worth, you also have to evaluate where your worth is with someone else.
True.
Because one thing that I've ran into a lot is, let me tell you what you want to hear and make you think this.
So that
while it's good for me.
Yes.
And that's, you cross, that's why the circle is this small.
And it's not going to work, and it's not healthy.
Absolutely not. But if that is one of your boundaries, because you want to see the good in everyone. I'm one of those people where you could have just totally done me so wrong, and we are complete enemies. But if I see you hurting, you better bet I'm going to be there to help.
But that goes into our boundaries.
There has to be boundaries.
It has to, and I didn't. I didn't have boundaries.
And I think as you walk through that, it's not just, like we go back. We're going on a whole nother subject again. But
because you can go on and on.
But it also has to do with energy and vibes. So as you learn how to care for yourself and how you start honing in on those vibes, you start honing in on that energy. When you start feeling something that's not right, you start pushing it. It's a defense. But again, it all comes back, it all ties into self-worth. What am I willing to take, and what am I not willing to take?
Right.
And then your response.
Am I worth it, or is it worth it? Am I worth it, or is it worth it?
Right.
I am worth it. That's not worth my time.
Absolutely.
Until we go back in there, because it all has to do with self. You know what I mean? So that's why when I think about self-worth, I think about, is it worth it? Is it worth me getting in trouble? Is it worth me losing my peace?
Right.
I am worth it. I am worth you telling me, you know what, I love you. I am worth a cup of coffee. That sisterhood. I am worth being loved. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it goes, that's what I think.
But again, you're hitting a whole different subject on that. Am I, we are talking about self-worth, but when you said, I am worth being loved, it all comes down to, yes, I am worth everything I desire.
Yes, there you go. I am worth everything that I desire. But when you don't know that, and the reason why you don't is because of the first part. If you don't have self-love, if you don't know what self-love is, it starts there.
Right.
So I feel like that is something that is that, because I know that we're getting into a lot of self stuff, but that is where, because once you start that self-love and you feel it and
it's
you
a drug.
know it,
it's a drug.
You start, you get to understand, like, no, I'm not being selfish,
right.
or no, I'm not. And we go into all these words, but then you can say, hey, I'm worth everything that whether you believe in God or not, but I believe in God. So whatever God has created for me, I am worth that. Whether it's time, whether it's positivity, whatever it is, I'm worth it all. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. The last 2 years of my life have been a journey, I should say. Now, a journey that started out with heartbreak and not understanding why I was not worth it. How can someone decide my worth because of who I'm not? I was devastated. Devastated for a good 7 months, probably. And when I met someone else. Unfortunately, some very traumatic things happened in my life, and this person helped me through those things.
Yes.
But then he showed me some true colors, and again, I was being used for my citizenship. I was ready to invest my life into him. I was ready to get married. I was
seriously,
ready.
you want to be in a relationship. So you guys had two different motives.
Right.
Mine is, I'm really looking for love. I really want to love again. Yours is, I want something out of it.
Yeah, so my point to that is that as I sit here in front of you today, I look back on that time and the pain that I went through, the things that were so hard, the things I didn't understand, I wouldn't change for the world today, because it's brought me to where I am. If I didn't go through that heartbreak, if I didn't go through that tragedy, if I didn't go through being used, I would not be writing my own book. We would not be sitting here making this video to share with thousands of people. At some point, it all boiled down to, why am I not good enough? When the answer to that was, you are good enough. But you have to walk through the valley at times in order to see.
You have to to understand, why when you don't feel like it's worth it. I'm gonna go back, and I've said it many times, that's self-love. Because if you
cannot grow without going through the pain. When we run from our pain and our challenges, nothing ever changes.
No, it just stacks up.
It just stacks up.
It piles up until you have, like me, an explosion of everything.
Right.
I'm talking about from the beginning, and I'm not talking about the beginning of a relationship. I'm talking about the beginning of life.
Yeah, absolutely.
Guys, trust me. Sometimes the time is not right for this explosion, but that's why I said, when you feel it, and you don't know enough about yourself.
If you don't relish in it, if you don't sit in it and cry and walk through it, the pain will always be there.
Yeah.
Which is what, at the beginning, what I was never willing to understand. I just want it to go away. I just want it to go away. I just want it to go away. But until I sat in the heartache, until I embraced the heartache, until I started to be willing to evaluate why, it was only then that I realized I am worth it. And it doesn't matter how fat I am, how skinny I am, how short my hair is, how long my hair is, what my religious views are, what culture I come from. None of those things matter. What matters is right here. That's what matters. And the thing about it is that there is love out there. And that love will come.
It starts right here.
But only when we know how to love ourselves.
Yes, it starts right here.
We are willing to be patient.
Out so much that I believe I was working past through that.
Probably.
And so it's like I done fell off the bandwagon. Of course I love the cooking stuff, and I'm like, okay, I need to get it together. But that's a part of me just, you know what I mean, getting back into that's just being healthy. So that's positive. People are selfish, time. I have to balance.
Everything's a balance.
Oh my gosh, and it's hard when you have kids. You're trying to work out. You're trying to go,
and then the whole world shuts down. And all your best friend wants to do is make banana bread.
Yes, let's talk and let's eat bread. Oh yes, that was you. Banana bread. Oh gosh.
Banana bread.
Let's have tacos. Let's have this. Let's have whatever. That's it. Yeah, come on, you want some latte? But at the end of the day, with even all of that is saying, I still love me. And so it doesn't, I picked up weight. It's okay. But I used to let it consume me.
But it's just like a friend of mine said to me, when I was so upset about the 13, 14 pounds that I had gained, and his response was, you can lose it if you want.
You know what my mom used to tell me when I was little? she said, you know, people bully or people say, you know, they say something about you. They talk about your weight or whatever, you know what I mean? Because when I was a teenager, I started going through this up and down phase of chunkiness. She said, you tell them, that weight, you can lose. But that ugly face that they walk around every day, they cannot. It's stuck with them.
All right, well, we're going to close things up for tonight, and we look forward to seeing you next week.
Bye.
Bye.